Well, hi there. So exams are over. That horrible polyester blazer of yours can go right in the bin. The stupid tie, don't need it anymore. So everyone, pull on that Leavers hoodie if you've got one. You are off to Thorpe Park, for an example, for one last hurrah with your school. Yay? Yay? Maybe. So hello everybody. GCSEs and your A-levels are now finished, finally, and school trip season has just begun. So if your school is taking you to a theme park, or you're just planning to go to celebrate the end of your exams, or if you're one of the lucky adults like me who's escorting a school trip, I thought I'd make this video with some helpful tips just for you. So I am going to go over the usual tips that I always tell people when they go to theme parks, but I'm also going to cover what to do if you are afraid of roller coasters, and especially that stomach drop feeling. Now, I know I already covered it in the shorts, but I thought I'd go into a bit more detail here. And so I hope these tips will be helpful for people of any age who might be accompanying kids on trips to theme parks. So teachers, parents, anybody really. So say you're watching everyone have a fun time and you think, oh, I'd love to go on those coasters. They look like really fun, but I'm just a bit too scared. Well, this is for you. I want to stress here that I'm not really aiming this advice at any people who are quite happy not going on coasters. That's fine. Maybe you feel ill on them. Maybe you have a condition that means you shouldn't go on them. Or maybe it's just not something you're interested in, but you still want to go to the theme park with your friends, or you're supervising a bunch of kids there. And if that's the case, then please don't feel pressured into doing something that you don't want to do. And also, if you're on the other side, please don't pressure other people unless they want to be pressured. I'll get into that in a moment. So this question of how do I get over my fear of roller coasters is something that comes up a lot online, and I see the same couple of problems over and over again. Either a person is experiencing a painful feeling in their stomach when they go over a drop, or they're too scared to get on the rides in the first place. So the solution is actually quite simple. It's ride some coasters. When you do this, that fear or that horrible stomach drop feeling will go away. This definitely worked for me, but I understand how difficult it can be because that feeling is very, very, very unpleasant indeed. Now, the reason it works is actually, it does have a basis in science. So when psychologists treat people for phobias, they sometimes use a method called saturation or exposure therapy, which can work. So for example, someone who's frightened of spiders. In fact, you can go on courses at London Zoo where you are introduced to various spiders and learn all about them. And eventually you are encouraged to touch one. And the aim really is to have you hold one in your hand. So if this is you and you genuinely want to ride the coasters, but there's still that hurdle to overcome, here are a few things to try. First of all, build up to those bigger rides. Have a look at what the park offers and check out any coasters that are listed as suitable for families or have a short, lower height requirement. So these rides will be the gentler options and will help you get used to the whole process of queuing, getting into seats and restraints, as well as the experience itself. So for an example, at Thorpe Park, I'd start with Flying Fish, Walking Dead, Nemesis, maybe Colossus, Swarm, and then Hyperia. Now, I personally prefer to pretend that Saw does not exist. Thorpe also have quite a few non-coaster rides that can help you get used to some of these sensations and restraints as well. So normally they don't go quite as high or fast as coasters, so those also might be worth trying first of all. Now, secondly, speak to your friends in advance and let them know that you do want to ride these bigger coasters, but that you have a plan to build up to them. Make sure everyone's on board with the plan, and if your friends are supportive, that's going to be super helpful. And if you feel like backing out, Ask your friends to encourage you and keep your confidence high. What's really great actually is if some of your friends are also apprehensive, this can be a really good way for you to all support each other. Watch the ride while you're waiting in line if you possibly can. And look at all the people getting off the ride. Do they look traumatized or scared? Or do they look happy? And now normally they look happy, unless it's Saw the Ride, in which case they don't. If you're frightened, say, of falling out of the ride, you can watch to see that this is something that does not happen. Rides are designed so that they simply won't work if the restraints aren't locked. Now, also tell yourself that even if you don't like the ride, it'll all be over in a matter of seconds. And in the case of Stealth, about 20 of those seconds. Now, the first big drop in Hyperia is about as long as a sneeze, which I tested recently. So if it helps to think of it that way, go for it. Think, then the time it takes for me to sneeze, I'll be at the bottom of this drop. Now, the complete ride on Nemesis takes less time than cleaning your teeth. I mean, at least it should do, you mucky gremlin, and you specifically. What I'm trying to say is that the rides themselves take up a fraction of the time that you have spent worrying about them. They are safe, and most people find them fun. And if after all of that, you look back at your theme park trip and you think, well, I'm glad I gave those rides a go, but it's really not my cup of tea. Well, that's fine. Not everything is for everyone. And you shouldn't feel bad about that. That's fine. Now, for the other tips, and these are all useful ideas wherever you go, and they usually apply to pretty much every theme park you'll ever visit. First of all, install the app if there is one. This will give you a map of the rides and other facilities, and will usually give you an idea of queue times and other events or attractions. And I would say arrive early, but if you're a part of a school group, that's not something you probably have much control over. So rather, my suggestion in that case is to go to the back of the park. That is the furthest point from the entrance. Most people, when they arrive at a theme park, will go to rides and attractions close to the main gate. For an example, in Europa Park, Voletarium is the closest ride to the main gate and gets a huge queue early in the day, but this dwindles to a walk-on by about 2 p.m. And that's because everyone just piles straight in there when they arrive. So a better approach is to go to the back of the park and work your way back to the main entrance. And hopefully by the time you're back in the area, the queues will have died down. However, an important exception here is Hyperia at Thorpe. Even though it's at the back, it's a very visible coaster, obviously, and has a long line all day. My suggestion is to join that queue at lunchtime, about 12:30, and just suck it up, basically. Another tip is to use single rider whenever it's possible. In my experience, even at its worst, single rider will shave 10 minutes off the main queue wait time. If you're in a group and you're able to split up and you're using the single rider queue, arrange to meet somewhere like the gift shop. And if you're in charge of the group, take that final ride. If there's two of you leading, one of you go first and one goes last, making what we call a ride sandwich, which will ensure that nobody goes astray. Now, fourthly, I think I'm fourth, is eat your blimmin' lunch and drink your blimmin' drink, please. Nobody wants to be in charge of the kid that vomits on Nemesis. And trust me, I have been in charge of the kid that vomits on Nemesis. One of the best ways to get nauseous on rides is to be dehydrated with an empty stomach, as this kid learned when they threw up on Nemesis. Now, another good tip is please don't bring your generic black backpack. It's easy to pick up the wrong bag in the bag bins when they all look the flipping same. Thank you. Even just dangle something off it. For goodness sake, why does everyone have the same backpack? Anyway, finally, please don't queue jump, especially if you are in your school uniform or your PE kit. It's very annoying. Everyone in the line will hate you, and some nosy old bag like me will send your school a sneaky email to get you into trouble. Yes, it was me. I have no regrets, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. You're welcome. So, those are my tips. I hope you have a lovely time wherever you go, and that your exam results are exactly what you need for your next step. That's all from me. I hope these tips are useful. If you have any other tips, please pop them in the comments if you have any other questions. And hello Evie, hello Jessica, hello Moss, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and stay hydrated.